Hey everybody, it's Romania Black. We're on volume 5 of Fire Punch, and when we last left off, things were starting to get a little bit crazy, right? A little bit crazy. We got introduced to two new people that we know nothing about. Our boy Batman is really suspicious of Togata, called Togata out for being a man and for lying and hiding their identity, and Togata kind of freaked out about it and is now wanting to try to get away, but Agni doesn't want to let them go. Agni has been by Togata positioned to be a god of these people, and things are kind of getting out of hand with that. And then we have Solia, who is the Ice Witch, but isn't the Ice Witch, who has now decided that they are going to use Judah to become a tree, suck the life out of the world, and end the Ice Age by restarting humanity. Just your typical day in the life of Fire Punch. What? If what I said just made no sense to you, that's where we're at, because it makes sense, but oh my gosh, this story is bonkers. And as I'm recording this, volume 1's on Patreon. I've made it my goal to try to finish this series before it gets too far in on Patreon YouTube, because I want to avoid spoilers, because how can you not? This series is so insane. But luckily everybody on Patreon has been really cool so far. They've just been like, restraint? No. I really liked, somebody said on Patreon, somebody said that this was Fujimoto unrestrained indeed, and that there's kind of a fun quality to it in the fact that this is Fujimoto's work before they did Goodbye Eri, before they did Look Back, before they did Chainsaw Man. I think this finished right before they started publication of Chainsaw Man. So I kind of like that Fujimoto, you can tell, because we were talking about this in the comments on Patreon, Fujimoto is very much in control of this story. That's kind of what we were talking about. The one thing about this story is that Fujimoto, it's them taking the filter off and being unleashed and being unrestricted, but Fujimoto is in control. They know exactly what they are doing. They know exactly, they're strategically placing things. And one thing that I thought I wanted to bring up that was really cool that someone was pointing out was that this series is different than like Neon Genesis Evangelion, where a series like Neon Genesis or Attack on Titan, those series, when they go into like dark and very disturbing places, kind of reflect on the mindset of the mangaka themselves. Like Neon Genesis is a classic example in the original anime. When it got dark and psychologically disturbing, it was like, oh, Anno wasn't in a good place when he wrote this. That's why it's getting there. This is a totally different thing. This is not Fujimoto's in a dark place. No, Fujimoto is very much in control of what they're doing, and they are choosing to push the envelope. They are choosing to do these disturbing things for shock value or for a reason to like settle the audience into, this is what the story's going to be like. Are you ready? And that's where we're going to from here. So Fujimoto's in control. This is not a reflection of their psyche, I don't believe. This is just them exercising artistic license, and exercise it we shall. But I'm very curious of a couple things going into this volume. The cover, as you probably saw on the thumbnail, looks like Togata covered in this weird, is it green flame? Is it symbolic? Is she going to get flame powers? I don't know. But I feel like it's important to question a few things going into this volume. One, what's Togata's deal? Why is what Batman said to her getting her so out of whack? What's the deal? What's the end goal with Agni being a god? I mean, we thought it was for Togata's entertainment for the movie, but is there another purpose? Where is Doma? What's up with that? Solia's plan with Judah. What all is up with that? Is Judah going to resist it? Is she going to go along with it? Is Agni going to end up saving her? How does that work? Why do they want to keep Agni alive? Obviously to fuel the tree, but where to with that? So, and then who are these two mysterious characters that have no name? They just have like a telepathic spear and underwear powers. I need to know answers, Fujimoto, and I'm really hoping you give it to us. So yeah, I'm really excited. I don't know what all we're going to get in this volume, but it's Fire Punch, so there is no telling. But I hope y'all are excited for this. I'm ready to go. We're going to find out about volume 5 of Fire Punch. We're past the halfway point, y'all. And we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Huh. I I didn't expect this series to suddenly take a sharp right turn into somber town, but we did. Oh my god, this volume. We still have 3 volumes left, by the way. 3. I feel like we've just taken a turn into, I feel like the second act of the story was very short, right? If this is the end of this felt like the end of the second act. It felt like we're about to go into the third act, right? It felt like we've set up, in volumes 1 and volume 2 and volume 3, we set up all of our main characters. We set up the big thing about Agni breaking everybody out of the prison in Behemdorg. We set up Doma. We set up Togata. We set up Judah. And then volume 4 was the start of the conflict and everything, like being like, okay, now Agni's becoming a god. Togata's got her own problems. Judah's got her own problems. The ice witch isn't what she seems to be. Like, we've set all that up, but this felt like the turning point. Like, this felt like we only spent 2 volumes on the middle part, and this feels like the turning point into the final act. Togata's dead? Oh, I'm really sad about that. I really didn't want Togata to be dead, but she is. Damn. I'm a little worried now because Togata was kind of like Agni's center and the one thing keeping Agni going, and now she's gone, and Judah's this tree, and the only ones that were spared, like Batman's dead, the one girl's dead, like they're all being sucked up into this tree by Judah. Like, what the fudge? And the only ones that were spared were the mystery man who can make iron, Sun, and Nanetto. They're like the only ones that are fine and out of the way. And Agni's there with Sulia, the ice witch. What? This volume was really emotional and powerful in just a beautiful breakdown of Agni and Togata and kind of where their characters have gone over the course of the story. The green fire on the cover, I really was getting my hopes up. I was really hoping that somehow Doma's flames, that since she was a blessed that could regenerate, I was really hoping that she would be able to like become a fire. I had all these ideas, right? I had these ideas. I was like, she's gonna become like Fire Punch herself, and they were gonna be able to like. I honestly started shipping them in this volume. I really did. The more this volume went on, the more I was like, man, Togata and Agni, I kind of shipped them. And I had this like crazy idea that she would become like a fire version like Kim, and that they would be able to be together because they both are on fire the whole time in pain. Why not commiserate together? I had this grand expectation that would be the only way that Agni could be with someone is he was with her while they're both on fire, right? I thought that was the case, but apparently her body, even though it can hyper regenerate, it's not as strong like Agni's is. But we'll go into that. Oh my god. Oh. So the masked man, we don't know his name. Doma's dead. Oh my god. This whole opening set of chapters where it's just Agni and Togata talking back and forth is so well done. It just feels like a movie. It feels like, but this volume felt like the turn in the movie before the final act, right? Where your couple gets in an argument and they run off and then something happens, the catalyst happens, it brings them back to the main event for the final volume. We kind of got that, except Togata dies. She saves him and dies. She gets to be the hero. I guess, depending on how you view Agni. The Ice Witch seems to view him as a villain, and Agni seems to view himself as a villain, so is he? Is that what this volume talking about perspective and talking about how we look at things from different points of view, right? And the idea, so Agni brings up a really good point right off the bat, where he's like, I look like a 23-year-old man. I still have the mentality of a 15-year-old. I look like this older man because I've been in pain the last 8 years with my body being on fire. Like physically, I know I look like an adult, but he's like, I am not. He's like, I have the mentality of a 15-year-old. I don't know what to do. I just don't want to see people die anymore, but that's all that happens around me. So I just need someone to help me. And he's like, that's why I need you, Togata, because you kind of get it. And you're the only person that's able to take me and understand me. And so And Togata is like, okay, what did you think when he said I was a man? What popped in your head? Did it make you second guess my gender? And he's like, I never thought you were a man. She's like, but he said it himself. And so he's like, that doubting is what I hate just as much as you hating other people. And just getting Togata, the idea, it didn't sink in until Togata said because they could regenerate, they can't change their gender. They can't become a man because they're stuck in that body. And I was like, oh my God. See, Togata's always wanted to be a man, but is forced to be something that they're not. That's not a meta commentary. I don't know what is. And it made me feel for Togata because I was like, yeah, Togata has been trying to be someone this whole time and to bring out this aura and this air about themselves, and it's just not been possible. And it's a very complicated discussion, right? It's very complicated, and I am not transgender, so I can't really speak to the concept and the topic being talked about itself around Togata. I'm sure if there's anybody watching that is transgender, they could probably comment their own take on Togata. I would love to read that because I feel like I'm kind of not the right audience to speak on it. But the idea that Togata can't be what they want and that it makes them sick. And Agni tries to relate to them being like, well, I feel this way about myself too. And Togata's like, it's not the same. And it's not, right? And that's when Togata says, everyone believes in you, not because of what you've done, not because of the miracles or the good deeds, but because of how you look. Your body being on fire is what makes them think that. And Togata's not wrong, right? They're like, everything about you, your sex, your height, your physique, your voice, your manner of speaking, your appearance is why they feel the things and think the things about you, not your actions. It's what you look like. That's what they think. And it disgusts Togata, right? And then they're like, and how you talk about your sister. And Agni's just like, what the hell? Like, Agni doesn't know what to do with all this information that Togata's throwing at him. And Togata says, I can't live up to anyone's expectations. You don't, and that part where Togata says, in reality, you don't like this, Togata. The line that they say where it's like, you like the funny, crazy female version of Togata, don't you? I do too. Because in this world, the male Togata would never have survived. And just the idea of like the inside, what is inside of Togata is like, I can't project that because that won't live in this world. I have to put on the crazy persona because that's what survives. And that's such a play on so many different tropes and narratives where they're like, oh, the crazy ones survive. It's the crazy ones that are the ones that have it all under control. And it's like Togata's character is playing on that and saying like, yeah, I have to pretend to be crazy because that's what lives in this world. If you try hard enough, you become the person you want to be. But I never can. Because once again, I've lost my mind and I don't even remember the real me. And Togata's like, I don't remember. And I like that Togata like tells him not to follow her, but he doesn't listen. And I love their back and forth where they just argue and banter. And he's like, well, what about the movie? Like, I'll do something crazy cool if you let me stay with you. And they're like, no. And then he's convinced about the eye switch, and Togata's like, the eye switch doesn't exist. I love when she calls him a lying penis. That's absolutely amazing. And then they just yell at each other like it's funny because I started to ship them in this volume, but then I also thought like he did, where they're kind of like brother and sister, right? She's kind of like the older sister. And then that's when he says, I want you to talk to me and tell me about yourself. And Togata's like, I don't want to talk about myself. I don't need you to understand. And then he's like, I want to learn more about you. And she says, why? And when he doesn't answer, she says, oh, well, that you're just trying to give me pity. You're just trying to pity me. You don't really want to know me. You just want to feel sorry for me. And Agni says, you're wrong. If I had an older sister, I think that she'd be like you. When I talked to my sister, I was able to forget about this awful world. And when I talk to you, the same thing happens. That's why you feel like a big sister to me. And then he says, or a big brother. A big brother would be more appropriate. I love that where he's just like, what do you want me to call you? What do you want to be for me? And the panels of Togata in the bottom of page 32, where they're just looking and they're just like knowing Agni's trying and saying, okay, you're dumb. You're no god. You just look like one. But big sister's fine. Like, let's not confuse everybody else. I just love Fujimoto drawing these panels where they just sit next to each other in silence, and it's just the same panel showing the little tiniest movements. It's so damn good. And then Togata smoking. I like when Agni says, my mom says smoking's bad, and they're like, well, yeah, your mom tell you to jump off a cliff, would you do it? And then Togata's like, what were you talking about? This cool thing you were gonna do. Not that I care, but what were you gonna do? And that's when he says, I'm gonna go see Doma and put an end to my revenge. And Togata says, talking you chase away the boredom, but it's wearing on my nerves. I can't talk anymore. And he says, then let's talk until you can again. I'll tell you about myself. And Togata says, I can't talk about myself, because they say they can't remember everything. So instead, they tell him a movie. And it's Star Wars, right? So thank God that Nanetto got Sun and the Masked Man away, right? There is something kind of cool about this, in that it's very interesting, the whole religious angle of it, and that Nanetto puts their prized cigarette in the snow and offers it to God, and Sun's like, oh, Lord Agni, and Nanetto's like, no, not Lord Agni, the God that I believe in, like, not believing Lord Agni's a god. And Sun's like, why? And Nanetto's like, look, I prayed for Togata to come back. If Togata doesn't return, then Agniism is done for. Which is like, what are we going to do now? That's the big question, because Togata looks like she is done for. So what's going to happen with Agni, right? But it's like, we have to have... And then Nanetto is actually on the same page as Doma. And Nanetto's like, we don't have an education. And Sun doesn't know what that is. He's like, education. She's like, no. She's like, I'm going to go shoot some interesting footage. We're not educated. We have to go. Nanetto is smart. And Nanetto realizes that they're just blindly following Agni. And she's like, Agni's not a god. Like, we need to go, get out of here and go get... She's like, I need to learn to drive and learn to practice. I'm not a blessed, so I have to learn how to do things. That's the thing. The blesseds all kind of just rely upon their raw powers. They don't really have to think. They can just use their abilities to get stuff. And Nanetto's like, I need to use my powers. I need to learn how to live without using my powers. So I like Nanetto's character a lot. I'm really glad Nanetto has stuck around as long as she has, that she's with Sun, who's kind of just blinded by all this, and the Masked Man we know nothing about. So Nanetto's kind of cool. I like Nanetto. And then they go to find Doma. And Togata's like, I'll work the camera and you go talk to Doma. And they run to the guy, they shoot him, and then Agni wonders if they have enough food back at the village if they need to go back. And Togata's like, no, we got enough. They'll be fine for a day. You go take care of Doma. And the idea of the way the landscape is set up, where there's the two giant trees and the path through them to the house, right? The two giant trees. And even Togata looks up to them and sees how tall they are. And then we see Doma coming out of the woods with the deer. Very symbolic, right? Just has the deer and gently lays it down. And I love Togata instantly gets the camera out, like, gonna shoot this. And he's like, we have to talk. And Doma's like, okay. And the whole thing about it is that Doma got educated and figured out all the dumb stuff. Like, he was enlightened and realized this was stupid, fighting them. So that's why he hasn't since then, right? I do like that Togata tries to do the ice fishing and then is like, nope, this is boring. And talks about the frozen lake and how he's not supposed to go. A nice bit of foreshadowing, talking about the frozen lake and how he's not supposed to go off onto it, being like, please don't come out here. It's a good foreshadowing for the end of the volume. And then he comes to grips with the idea. He's like, you came to talk. Did you come to talk or kill me? And Agni's back and forth with him, where he's trying to figure out whether or not to kill him. He's like, I want to talk to you to figure out whether or not you need to die. And Doma's like, there wasn't a misunderstanding. He's like, you all are just dumb. You don't have a proper education. And Togata kind of like puts the camera down slightly. So yeah, this whole series is getting to the point where people aren't smart. They're not being educated, and that's the problem, right? He says, your village lives off human flesh. When you die, what do you think is going to happen? They're not going to die. They're going to keep living regardless. And so then they're either going to attack other villages to eat them, or they'll start to cannibalize. That's all their culture will be left with, because that's all they know. You're not teaching them how to do anything for themselves. You providing for them is making them dumber. And so, yeah, he's like, without proper education, they'll turn stupid and they won't even be human anymore. And Agni gets mad and says that's his delusion. He's like, no. He's like, it's not a delusion. It's a prediction. He's like, they can't imagine other scenarios unless they are intelligent. And without imagination, they get a false sense of judgment. And he's like, you're already affected, whether you realize it or not. He's like, you second-guessed yourself. You thought about all this. And then Doma's like, I don't blame you. You didn't know. He's like, the person who set you aflame wasn't the educated person. So he's like, before I was enlightened, I'm the one that set you aflame. And I was going off of a god that I saw on my television set, this god. And then I found out that it was all just a movie. He's like, I ordered my troops to go to a village to acquire more slaves. Now, what's interesting here is that Judah says she was only 130. Like way back in volume 1, she said she was 130. But Doma here says that Judah had divine revelation and he went to go to the village to get more slaves and he destroyed the village. But then we find out that Togata's over 300 years old. So the question is, was Togata hundreds of years old when her village was attacked? I guess so. And then we find out the fire of Behemdorg. And you see like the Paramount logo. And you see, like, I wish I could read that further. What does that say? I want to read that. Can I zoom in on that? I'm going to zoom in. See what I get. Oh, we do. We can zoom in on it. Yes. Okay. So it says, the greatest action film ever made. Director John Kennedy's had us in stitches with his last off-the-wall comedy. But now he's gone and made a serious, film, Jesu, Tom Ray, has his homeland destroyed by demons. But when he spits fire onto his fist, those demons won't know it's coming when he retaliates with sanctions of the burning fist persuasion. Hell is what you make of it in this action-packed comedy. Oh my God, this action-packed comedy. Wow. Like 517 minutes. What the hell? But yeah, so that's it. What I'd been watching the whole time was entertainment called a movie. And the God that I'd prayed to was just a human actor. I believed that man's act and burned people in his name. And he drops the fishing pole. And that's when Togata's like, you asshole, that was my village that you burned. Only I would own that. That was a C movie. How dare you? I love Togata gets so mad. And it's like, I can't believe they took the whole thing about Behemdorg from that awful movie. And Togata's like, I'll forgive you once you burned your sorry ass dick and ass off. Oh my God. I love it. Amazing. She's like, just so you know. I love this. It's like adding fuel to the fire. It's like, just so you know, the actor in that movie that you've been praying to was an alcoholic rapist. So there. Togata getting off on it is absolutely insane. And then the kids all show up, right? The kids all show up and they like get around Doma and they tell him like not to be mean. And he says, please forgive me. And the kids are like, you shouldn't say dirty words. Like, they're like, Mr. Doma says that the world's overrun with dirty things and you have to keep at least your soul clean. You shouldn't talk like that. And that's when Agni convinces Togata to leave, saying they can't kill him now because Doma wants to keep people alive too, and the kids are there. And so then Togata gets mad at him and is like, well, why wouldn't you kill him? Luna, what about Luna? What would she want? And he says, Luna wouldn't have never been happy with somebody having to die. And neither would I. And he kind of hesitates and thinks about that. What's interesting is what Agni thinks that Luna would want. And then what Luna in his head tells him, like there's some freaky stuff going on, right? So he's like, I won't be happy just because Doma's dead. And they walk for a while. And that's when Agni talks about, like, you wanted me to become the hero. Well, in the movies, would they have killed him? And Togata's like, no, there were children involved. The audience would have despised him if that had happened. And he's like, well, good, I'm the hero then. I don't need to be Agni anymore. If it means saving everybody, I'll become a god. I'll become the hero. It's easier that way. And Togata's like, you narcissist. So yeah, so then all the people are gathering together, and Batman says they're all going to sing. They're all going to sing to Agni to get him to come back, which is crazy because that's right about the time Judah shows up, right? And then what's interesting is that Togata motions for him to keep walking with her, and he smiles and he starts to walk. But then he stops and thinks. And he gets all the flashbacks, or what we think are flashbacks. But the crazy thing is, Agni at this point is like on autopilot, isn't thinking of anybody but his sister, and just keeps going but goes the wrong way. And Togata's like, what the hell? And he's not even thinking about all the people that are burning. He's thinking about his sister. And then he thinks about Doma burning his sister and then burning him. And he sees Doma looking so evil and then sees him with the kids. And his sister asks him to kill him. And the sister says he's just an actor. Saying acting like everyone else around you in order to survive. And Agni's like, but I'm a hero now. And then she says, no, you need to be Fire Punch instead. Like, just the idea that this like inner subconscious thing with Agni, where he said that his sister wouldn't want this, but then inside his brain, his subconscious is like, no, go do this thing. And then him like with the face on fire and everything. Oh my God. And then, like, he takes his own face off. But then it grows right back. And he's punched through. And that's when he realizes that he punched through Doma. And, like, Doma tried to reach him and just burnt out. And that's when... And then all the trees are burnt and everything. And he realizes what he's done. What the hell? Yeah, everybody just burned alive. And Togata's like... And it was all on film, right? Like he just rolled through with himself completely on fire. And like everyone just burnt around him. And Doma tried to stop him and it didn't do anything. And then when he looks into the snow, that's when he sees his sister, right? And that's when Togata's like, what are you doing? And he chases after the sister, but then he goes to the middle of the lake, right? Like he's going to kill himself. And so, at this point, Togata is telling Agni to come back, and he's like, you told me to be the hero, that you'd be the hero, that I'd be the hero and you'd be the director, and then Netta would be the cameraman, and Doma would be the villain, but no, that's not how this is. And I love that Togata's like, don't think about it too much. It's fine. It's okay. And it feels like Togata this whole time has been trying to convince Agni that, no, you're a hero. You're a god. It's okay. But I think Togata knows just as much as Agni has. He's like, no, I'm the villain. This was my villain origin story. I'm the villain. I've been killing all these people. And I haven't changed. And... he's like, for letting my village burn down, for letting my sister burn to death, I tried to make others suffer like I have. He's like, I've done nothing but kill. And when he says I should have died with Luna, and there's like tears coming out of his eyes. And that's when he goes to the ice. And we get the near-death experience. We see the B-Vengers. We see all that where he's at the movie theater. And he looks like a 15-year-old again. And he has his caramel popcorn and sits down. And I like that he sees his sister and she's put the seat down for him. Like she's going to sit there with him to watch the movie. And then Togata's like, nope! I'm not letting this happen. I love that she just throws him out of the way to sit there instead. And then she talks about how her grandpa got her into movies. And around that time, she wanted to be a man. To save someone like the heroes in the movies do. And that tear on her face, oh my God. And she rescued him. She lifted him up to light herself on fire to get him up there. Oh, and then that whole out-of-body experience where she's just looking at herself from the outside and just feeling like it's a movie. Like getting the pain away by thinking of anything else. And saying, okay, what should my parting words be? Well, I can't say this. I like the Vanilla Sky reference saying it should be mother. We both have moms, so it'll make it resonate even more with Agni. If I die, he's willing to die too. Even though I gave my life to save him. And he has to keep living. But why? Why does he have to live? He succeeded in killing Doma. And if he dies, he'll get to see his little sister. He wants to die, and I don't blame him with all the pain and suffering. Even if he lives, all he'll have is pain. So why does Agni have to live? And then she sees. So the question is, what did Togata see in their final moments? My thing is that Agni, for all that he's done in destroying the world, and you can take it several different ways, I guess. I mean, on the one hand, there's the idea of, okay, on the one hand, it's like, if Agni keeps living, will, timeline-wise, he destroy the tree? Will he do anything with it? What's going to happen with it? Is it going to be to fuel the human race repopulating and reconfiguring? We don't know yet. So there's that way of looking at it. But from Togata's perspective, Agni accepted Togata for who they were and made Togata feel a little bit better about themselves and inspired Togata to want to save him of all people. So maybe that's why, you inspire people to do things, you need to keep living to keep humanity going. Maybe. But then God, that whole thing about living. And why? Why did Fujimoto have to show Agni like grimacing and biting his lip? Why'd you have to do that? That artwork is heartbreaking. And Togata just being burnt up. I wanted Togata to become like a flame person to be with Agni too. And then poor Agni, he just carrying Togata, and crying and carrying her body. Without the legs or whatever, through the snow. Fujimoto, what are you doing? Why? And that's what he questions. And then we get to the damn tree. Judah's become this big tree of life in the center of the village. The roots have gone everywhere. What the fudge? This artwork is incredible, Fujimoto, but what the fudge? And then, yeah, the little sapling roots have gotten to everyone. It's sucking the life out of everyone in the village. The Batman, the one guy, the woman is getting sucked off as well. That tree is Judah. And they're all out there staring at it. And then the ice witch is just sitting there in a damn chair. Celia is just sitting there being like, oh yeah, you can't beat her. Judah can use all blessings. But that's only true because Ice Witch gives him. Now, she can erase your regeneration in flames. Now, is that true? Or is that a lie? And also, the Ice Witch is not showing Agni what they look like. So when he sees Celia and that they look exactly like Judah and Luna, what's he going to think, right? And I love that Solia, it was too good to be true. Solia and Togata both like movies. We can't have two movie-loving narrator type figures in the same story, right? So Togata had to die. And now Solia is here saying, when I watch movies, my intention's on the bad guy. I love villains. They're single-minded and fight for their own values. They torture the heroes so the audience hates them for it. But in the end, they do us the favor of losing. And victory goes to the hero and the audience gets to enjoy catharsis. And that's why, like you, Agni, you destroyed Behem Dorg for your own needs and killed tons of innocent people. And all that's left for you to do is die. Show me your ending and give me catharsis. So yeah, so the Ice Witch is saying, like, you are the villain, right? And Agni just got done saying that same thing. And so Solia is just confirming that with Agni. And God, him just collapsing and Togata just like breaking into different pieces. What the fudge, Fujimoto? What the fudge? Damn it. Damn it! I didn't expect when I started this volume to be getting an in-depth look at like sexuality and identity, and then at Agni. Agni's gone through a lot more character development than I thought he would have. He's gone from being like this kid to being in pain and not knowing his purpose, to thinking he knows his purpose, to thinking he's not the hero, he's the villain, to wondering why he's still alive. And now two people have told him to live that have died for him, his sister figures. Judah? What's up with Judah? Why are they a tree? And I don't think Judah can get out of this. How? What is Solia gonna do? How is Solia gonna like try to trick Agni? We have 3 more volumes. 3 more volumes, y'all. What? Ridiculous. Ridiculous! So, this volume was really, it was so different than the other volumes in that it was not, there was the action scene with Doma and him destroying the village. What's interesting is the idea that Agni had told himself he was going to do this one thing, but then his subconscious with his sister and his subconscious is not the same as how he told Togata about his sister. So that's fascinating that in his mind, she's encouraging him to kill Doma. But when he was talking to Togata, he said that Luna would never do that. So there's some disconnect there, right? Or maybe he was lying to Togata. We don't know. But, I was not expecting Togata to die in this volume, but it looks like she's going to. Like, she breaks up there at the end. What the hell? What are we supposed to do with this now? What's Agni gonna do now? Like, we have 3. If this were the second to last volume, if the next volume was the last one, I'd be like, okay, well, Agni is gonna fight Judah, and either it's gonna end really horribly, and Judah's gonna suck him up, and I guess that's the end of the story, and maybe that will happen next volume. Maybe Agni dies next volume and the last 2 volumes are like the respawning of humanity. I don't know what Fujimoto is going to do with this story. I really don't. I don't know where he's going with it. Especially now. Like every volume, I just go in with no expectations because I have no clue what's going to happen. So, it's fine. It's fine. Oh my God. So yeah, so I'm excited, y'all, to see what happens next volume. I'm sad Togata's gone. I guess if Togata doesn't come back, cheers to Togata, we get sudden backstory and sudden character motivation and then time to go. But I really feel for Agni, our poor fire boy. I do, because he's going through an identity crisis of stellar magnitude in this volume, and I wish I could help him, but damn. So yeah, I hope y'all have a great week. I hope y'all enjoyed this reaction discussion. I'm very, very curious to know your thoughts down below, but oh my God, I hope y'all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I will be back very soon with volume 6 of Fire Punch. Bye.